The year was 2247. Earth had changed a lot in the last 200 years. Humans had stopped fighting each other. They had built great cities. They had learned to live together. But they had never met anyone from the stars until today. Kong? Doyen stood in the Great Hall of the First Contact Embassy in Seoul. He was 28 years old. He had dark hair that fell into his eyes. He wore a simple black suit that felt too tight around his shoulders. He had not slept in 3 days. The embassy was the most beautiful building in Korea. It had tall glass walls that showed the sky. The floor was made of white stone. Golden lights hung from the ceiling like small suns. Today, every important person on Earth was here. Presidents, scientists, generals, they all stood in neat rows. Waiting, Doyen was not important. He was just a junior scientist who studied the stars. His job today was simple. Stand in the back. Stay quiet. Watch and learn. His friend Yoon Ji-soo stood next to him. She was small and nervous. Her hands were shaking. "I cannot believe this is happening," she whispered. "Real aliens coming here. To Earth? Stay calm," Doyen said. But his heart was beating fast too. The doors at the end of the hall began to open. Everyone stopped breathing. The aliens walked in. There were 12 of them. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was pale silver, like moonlight on water. They wore armor made of a metal that seemed to glow from inside. Their eyes were large and dark, like the night sky without stars. But it was the one in the middle that made everyone stared. She was different from the others. She wore no armor. Instead, she wore a long dress that flowed like liquid gold. Her silver hair fell past her waist. Her face was sharp and beautiful in a way that did not seem real. She looked like something from an old story, a goddess or a queen from another world. Which Doyen realized she was. This was Princess Vela of the Ethon Dominion, third heir to the throne of a galactic empire. The aliens had sent their own princess to meet humanity. It was either a great honor or a very clever test. The princess walked forward. Her steps made no sound. The 12 guards behind her moved like shadows. Han Tai-ho, the senior diplomat, stepped forward to greet her. He was an old man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had practiced his welcome speech for months. "Your Highness," he said, bowing low. "On behalf of all humanity, we welcome you too." The princess raised one hand. Tai-ho stopped talking immediately. She had not even looked at him. The room became very cold. Doyen felt something strange, like a weight pressing on his chest. The air itself seemed to change. Then the princess opened her mouth and spoke. Her voice was like nothing Doyen had ever heard. It was soft, but powerful. It filled the entire hall without effort. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. The sound went straight into his bones, into his blood, into his mind. "People of Earth," she said, "I am Vela, daughter of the Eternal Throne, voice of the Ethon Dominion. For 10,000 years, my people have ruled the stars. We have watched your world. We have seen your wars, your failures, your small and short lives." Some of the humans looked angry at these words, but no one spoke. No one could speak. Her voice held them all in place like invisible chains. "Today I come to judge if your species is worthy," she continued. "Worthy of our attention? Worthy of our knowledge? Worthy of..." Doyen was so tired, he had not slept in 3 days. He had been reading reports and preparing documents. His eyes hurt. His head hurt. His mind was full of fog. He was not really listening to the princess. He was looking at her, at the way the light fell on her silver hair, at the way her dress moved like water, at the proud way she stood, so straight and tall, as if she was carrying something very heavy on her shoulders. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and in his tired, foggy mind, a thought formed into words, and those words slipped out of his mouth before he could stop them. "You are too beautiful to speak." The words were quiet. Just a whisper, really. He had not meant to say them out loud, but the princess heard them. She stopped mid-sentence. Her dark eyes moved through the crowd like a hunter searching for prey. They found Do-yoon in the back of the room. The whole hall was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Jisoo grabbed Do-yeon's arm. Her fingers dug in hard. "What did you do?" she whispered. Her voice was shaking with fear. Do-yeon did not answer. He could not answer. The princess was looking at him. Her gaze held him frozen like a rabbit in front of a wolf. The guards reached for their weapons. Taeho's face went white. The other diplomats looked like they wanted to disappear. One of the guards, a tall female with cold eyes, stepped forward. This was Commander Lyris. She spoke in a voice like ice. "You dare interrupt the princess? You dare speak while she speaks? On Ethon, we would cut out your tongue for such an insult." Do-yeon's mouth went dry. He tried to speak, to apologize, but no words came out. Princess Vela raised her hand again. The guard stopped. The princess looked at Do-yeon for a long moment. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no surprise, nothing at all. Then something changed in her dark eyes. Something small and quick, like a flash of light in deep water. "Interesting," she said. She said only that one word, but somehow it was more frightening than any threat. She turned to Commander Lyris. "This is human. I want to know his name. I want to know everything about him." Lyris nodded. "Yes, Your Highness." "And his punishment?" The princess looked at Do-yeon one more time. The corner of her mouth moved just a little. It might have been a smile. Or it might have been something else entirely. "No punishment," she said. "Not yet. In 10,000 years, no one has ever made me stop speaking. I want to understand why." She turned and walked toward the private meeting rooms. Her guards followed, but at the door she paused. She did not look back. "Human," she said. "What is your name?" Do-yeon's voice came out rough and broken. "Kang Do-yeon." "Kang Do-yeon," she repeated. The way she said his name made it sound like something new, something dangerous. "I will remember that name." Then she was gone. The room exploded into noise. Diplomats shouting, guards moving, people running in every direction. Jisoo was pulling at his arm. "Do-yeon, do you understand what you did? You just interrupted an alien princess. In front of everyone. This could start a war." Taeho pushed through the crowd. His kind eyes were now hard with anger. "Take him to the holding room now. Before this gets any worse." Guards grabbed Do-yeon's arms. He did not fight. He was still too shocked to understand what was happening. As they led him away, he thought about the princess's eyes, about the way she had looked at him. Not with anger, not with disgust, with curiosity. And somehow, that was the most terrifying thing of all. The holding room was small and cold. There was one chair, one table, and one window that looked out at nothing but gray walls. Do-yeon sat alone in the silence. He had been here for 6 hours. His mind kept going back to that moment. The princess speaking, her voice filling the room, and then his own stupid, tired words slipping out like water through broken glass. "You are too beautiful to speak." What was he thinking? He was not thinking. That was the problem. 3 days without sleep had turned his brain into soup. The door opened. Jisoo rushed in. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. "Do-yeon." She ran to him and grabbed his hands. "Are you okay?" "They would not let me see you. I had to beg for an hour." "I am fine," he said. "What is happening out there?" Jisoo's face became dark. "It is bad, very bad. Diplomat Taeho is trying to fix things, but the alien guards are angry. They keep talking about their laws and traditions. Something about honor and respect." Do-yeon closed his eyes. "How bad?" "Some of them want to kill you." He opened his eyes. "What?" I said, "Some of them want to kill you." Jisoo was crying now. "This is not a joke, Do-yeon. These aliens come from a place where words mean everything. Interrupting their princess is like spitting on their flag, like burning their holy books. They do not take it lightly." Do-yeon felt sick. He had not meant to cause trouble. He was just tired. Just stupid. The door opened again. Diplomat Taeho walked in. His face was gray and old, more old than it had looked that morning. Got Kong, he said. His voice was cold. Do you understand what you have done? I am sorry. I did not mean to. I do not care what you meant. Tai-Ho slammed his hand on the table. The Ethon Dominion rules over 500 planets. They have weapons that could turn Earth into dust. And you, a junior scientist who should have stayed silent, you interrupted their princess during her sacred address. Doyan had nothing to say. Every word was true. Tai-Ho rubbed his face with both hands. He looked very tired, too. There is one piece of strange news. The princess has asked to see you. Jisu gasped. What? Why? I do not know, but we cannot refuse. Whatever she wants, we must give it to her. If seeing this fool is what she wants, then that is what she will get. He looked at Doyan with hard eyes. When you meet her, you will bow. You will apologize. You will say nothing else. Do you understand? Doyan nodded. Good. Come with me. They walked through long hallways. Guards stood at every door. Some were human. Some were Ethon. The alien guards looked at Doyan like he was a bug they wanted to step on. Finally, they reached a large door made of dark wood. Tai-Ho stopped. She is inside. Alone. He gave Doyan a warning look. Do not make things worse. Then he opened the door and pushed Doyan inside. The room was beautiful. It had tall windows that showed the night sky. Soft lights floated in the air like stars. In the center was a single chair. On that chair sat Princess Vela. She had changed her golden dress for something simpler, dark blue, like the deep ocean. Her silver hair was loose around her shoulders. Without her guards around her, she looked almost human. Almost. Close the door, she said. Doyan closed it. His hands were shaking. Come closer. He walked forward until he was 10 steps away from her. Then he dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead to the floor. Your Highness, I am deeply sorry. I did not mean to insult you. I was tired. I spoke without thinking. Please forgive me. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the princess spoke. Stand up. Doyan stood. He kept his eyes on the floor. Look at me. He raised his eyes. The princess was watching him with a strange expression. Not angry. Not amused. Something else. Do you know what you did? She asked. I interrupted you. I was disrespectful. I know. She stood up from her chair. She was taller than him by half a head. You did something much more interesting than that. Doyan did not understand. Your Highness? Vela walked in a slow circle around him. He felt like a small animal being examined by a predator. 10,000 years, she said. No one has ever made me stop speaking. My voice is a weapon. It can break the will of soldiers. It can bend the minds of kings. It can end wars or start them. When I speak, the universe listens. She stopped in front of him. Her dark eyes looked into his. But you made me stop. With just 7 words, Doyan swallowed hard. I did not mean to. Do you know what this means in my culture? She cut him off. When someone silences a royal, there are only 2 possibilities. Either they have insulted the royal beyond forgiveness, or they have invoked the claim of the unspoken. The claim of the unspoken? Vela nodded slowly. In ancient tradition, it says that if someone can silence a royal with words alone, those words must have great meaning. The speaker must prove that meaning. They have 3 days to show why their words had power. Doyan's heart was beating very fast, and if they cannot prove it, then they die. The word hung in the air like a blade. But you have those 3 days, Vela continued. My guards wanted to kill you immediately. I stopped them. I told them you had invoked the claim. She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Now you must prove that your words meant something. Doyan's mind was spinning. 3 days. He had 3 days to explain why he had called an alien princess beautiful. I do not know how to prove that, he said honestly. I was tired. I spoke without thinking. The words just came out. Vela tilted her head. You were saying your words meant nothing? Doyan stopped. He thought about that moment. Looking at the princess, seeing the weight in her eyes, the loneliness hidden behind her proud face. No, I think they did mean something. I just do not know how to explain it. Something changed in Vela's expression, a small crack in her cold mask. Then we have 3 days for you to learn. She walked back to her chair and sat down. But she did not dismiss him. Doyan stood there, unsure of what to do next. The silence stretched on. Finally, he did something that surprised even himself. He asked a question. Your Highness, can I ask you something? Her eyebrows rose. You dare to ask more questions? You, who may die in 3 days? I may die anyway, so I have nothing to lose. For a moment, he thought she would call her guards, but instead, she laughed. It was a quiet sound, like wind through silver bells. It's very well, human, ask. Doyan took a deep breath. Has anyone ever just talked to you? Not as a princess. Not as a weapon. Just as a person? The laughter died in her throat. Her dark eyes went wide. For a long time she did not speak. The silence was so heavy that Doyan could hear his own heartbeat. When Vela finally answered, her voice was different. Softer. Almost unsure. No, she said. No one has ever asked me that. Doyan nodded slowly. Then maybe that is where we should start. The princess looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Not as a foolish human who had insulted her. Not as a problem to be solved, but as something new. Something she did not understand. And for the first time since she was a child, Princess Vela of the Ethon Dominion did not know what to say. The next morning Doyan woke to find a guard at his door. But this time, the guard did not take him to a holding room. He took him to the embassy gardens. The gardens were the most peaceful place in Seoul. There were old trees with twisted branches. There were ponds full of golden fish. There were flowers of every color. Blooming even though it was late autumn, Princess Vela was waiting for him near a small bridge. She wore simple clothes today, a long coat of dark gray. Her silver hair was tied back in a simple tail. Without all her royal decorations, she looked younger. Moriel Commander Lyris stood 10 steps behind her, watching everything with cold eyes. But the princess waved her back. Wait by the entrance, Vela said. I wish to speak with the human alone. Lyris looked unhappy, but she obeyed. When she was gone, the princess turned to Doyan. Walk with me, she said. They walked together along the stone path. The morning air was cool and fresh. Birds sang in the trees. For a while, neither of them spoke. Doyan did not know what to say. This was the princess who held his life in her hands. One wrong word and he would die. But then he remembered what he had asked her last night. Has anyone ever just talked to you? If he only said safe things, he would be like everyone else. And everyone else had never reached her. These are cherry trees, he said, pointing at the bare branches above them. In spring, they grow pink flowers. So many flowers that it looks like clouds have fallen from the sky. Vela looked up at the branches. They are empty now. Yes, but that is what makes the flowers special. They only last for a few weeks. If they lasted forever, we would stop seeing them. The princess was quiet for a moment. Your species finds beauty in things that die? We find beauty in things that change. Things that do not last forever. Doyan smiled a little. Maybe because we do not last forever either. They crossed the small bridge. Below them, golden fish swam in slow circles. Tell me about your people, Vela said. Not the facts. Not the history I already know. Tell me what makes humans human. Doyan thought for a long moment. This was his chance. His chance to prove that his words meant something. That humanity was worth knowing. We are weak, he said. Compared to you, we are very weak. We cannot live for thousands of years. We cannot travel between stars on our own. Our bodies break easily. Our lives are short. This is not a good start, Vela said. But there was a small smile on her lips. Wait, I am not finished. Doyan stopped walking and turned to face her. We are weak. But we love anyway. We build anyway. We hope anyway. That is what makes us human. We know we will die, and we still choose to live. The princess looked at him with her dark, endless eyes. What do you mean? I mean, Dajin searched for the right words. Look at this garden. Humans made this. We knew the flowers would die. We knew the trees would grow old. We knew that one day, maybe, this whole city would be dust. But we built it anyway. Because the building matters. The loving matters. Even if it does not last. Vela was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was strange. Almost uncertain. The Ethon do not think this way. We build to last forever. We conquer so nothing can threaten us. We live for thousands of years so we do not have to face death. And are you happy? Doyan asked. The question hit her like a slap. She stepped back, her eyes wide. What? I asked if you were happy. Your people have everything. Power, time, space. But when I look at you, I do not see someone who is happy. I see someone who is tired. Someone who is lonely. Someone who is carrying a weight that no one helps her carry. No one had ever spoken to the princess like this. No one had ever dared. Her face showed shock, then anger, then something else. Something that looked almost like pain. You know nothing about me, she said. Her voice was cold. I know what I see. Then you see wrong. But she did not walk away. She stood there, her hands tight at her sides, her breath quick and shallow. Doyan took a risk. He stepped closer to her, close enough to see the small lines around her eyes, close enough to see the way her mask was breaking. You asked me why I said you were too beautiful to speak, he said. This is why. Because when I looked at you, I did not see a princess. I saw a person. A person who looked like she was drowning in her own power. A person who had forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Vela's eyes were wet. She blinked fast, trying to hide it. Humans cry when they are sad, she said. Why do they do that? Because sadness is heavy. Crying lets some of it out. The Ethon do not cry. We are taught that crying is weakness. Doyan shook his head. Crying is not weakness. It takes strength to admit you are hurt. It takes courage to show your pain. A single tear fell down Vela's silver cheek. She touched it with her finger, looking at it like she had never seen such a thing before. I have not cried in 500 years, she whispered. Then maybe it was time. They stood in silence. The wind moved through the empty trees. The fish swam in their circles. The world kept turning. Slowly, Vela wiped her eyes. When she looked at Doyan again, something had changed in her face. The cold mask was not completely gone, but there were cracks in it now. Cracks that let light in. Speak to me like no one has ever spoken to me, she said. You do not bow. You do not flatter. You do not fear me. Oh, I fear you, Doyan said with a small laugh. I am very scared, actually. You could kill me with a single word. Then why do you speak to me this way? Doyan thought about it. Because you needed someone, too. And because even if I die tomorrow, at least I will die having been honest. That matters more to me than living as a coward. Vela stared at him. The look in her eyes was something he could not read. Wonder, maybe, or confusion. Or something deeper that had no name. You are a very strange human, Kang Doyon. I know, she laughed. It was a real laugh this time, not the cold, polite sound from before. It was warm and surprised, like she had forgotten how to do it. I do not know what to do with you, she said. My whole life, I have known exactly what to do. But you are something I cannot understand. Maybe that is okay, Doyan said. Maybe not everything needs to be understood. Maybe some things just need to be felt. The princess looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out her hand. She touched his face. Her fingers were cool and soft. They traced the line of his cheek, the edge of his jaw. It was a gentle touch, like she was making sure he was real. This is forbidden, she whispered. A princess of the Ethon should never touch a lesser species. Then why are you doing it? She did not answer, but she did not pull her hand away either. They stood like that, frozen in time. While the world held its breath, neither of them saw Commander Lyris watching from the entrance. Neither of them saw the look of horror on her face. Neither of them knew that in 1 hour, she would send a message to the Ethon High Council, and everything would change. The message reached the Ethon High Council in less than an hour. By the next morning, the sky above Sol was dark with ships. Duhane watched from his window as 20 massive warships blocked out the sun. Each one was bigger than a city. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a continent. The door to his room burst open. Jisoo ran in, her face white with fear. "Hey, they are coming for you," she said. "The Ethon High Council has demanded your execution. They say you corrupted the princess." Corrupted her. Doyan felt sick. "I only talked to her. It does not matter. The council is furious. They say she touched you. A princess touching a human is the worst crime in their culture. They want your head." Doyan sat down heavily on his bed. He had known this was dangerous. He had known from the beginning. But he had not expected it to end like this. "What about the princess?" he asked. "What will happen to her?" Jisoo's eyes filled with tears. "They want to take her back. Force her to renounce you. If she refuses, they will exile her. She will lose everything. Her title, her family, her home." Doyan closed his eyes. This was all his fault. If he had just stayed quiet, if he had just been like everyone else, but he could not regret it. Those moments in the garden, talking to Vela, seeing her smile, watching her cry for the first time in 500 years, he could not regret any of it. "There has to be something we can do," he said. Before Jisoo could answer, the door opened again. Diplomat Taiho walked in with 4 Ethon guards behind him. "Kung Do-yoon," Taiho said. His voice was flat and tired. "By order of the Ethon High Council, you are sentenced to death. You will be executed at sunset." The guards grabbed Doyan's arms. He did not fight. There was no point. But as they dragged him out, he looked back at Jisoo. "Tell her I am sorry. Tell her I do not regret anything. Tell her. Tell her she was worth it." Jisoo was crying too hard to answer. They took him to a cell deep underground. It was small and dark, with no windows and no light. He sat in the darkness and waited to die. Hours passed. Or maybe it was only minutes. He could not tell. Then he heard footsteps. The door opened and a small light appeared. It was the princess. She wore a simple white dress. Her silver hair was loose. Her face was pale and her eyes were red. She had been crying again. "You came," Doyan said. He was surprised. His voice still worked. "I had to see you," Vela whispered. One more time, she knelt in front of him. Her hands took his. "I am so sorry," she said. "This is all my fault. I should not have touched you. I should not have let myself feel, no." Doyan squeezed her hands. "Do not apologize. Do not regret. These last 2 days were the best days of my life." Vela made a small broken sound. "They are going to kill you. Because of me, then at least I die for something real. Something that mattered." She looked at him with those dark, endless eyes. "You truly do not fear death?" "I fear it. But I fear not living even more. And you, Vela, you made me feel more alive than I have ever felt." He smiled, even though his heart was breaking. "That is worth dying for." The princess pressed her forehead to his hands. Her tears fell on his skin like rain. "There must be something I can do," she said. "I cannot let you die," Doyan thought. His mind raced through everything he knew, everything he had learned about the Ethon. Then an idea came to him. A crazy, impossible idea. "There is one thing," he said slowly, "but I need access to the broadcast system. The one that connects to all the Ethon ships." Vela looked up. "What are you planning? Your people came here to judge us, to decide if we are worthy, but they never really looked at us. They only saw weak creatures with short lives. They never saw what makes us special. What do you want to show them?" Doyan smiled. "Everything. took an hour to set up. Vela had to fight with her guards. She had to use her remaining authority as princess. She had to threaten and beg and demand. But in the end, she got Dojin access to the broadcast room. He stood in front of a screen that would send his image to every Ethon ship in the sky, every soldier, every commander, every member of the High Council. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. "People of the Ethon Dominion," he began. "My name is Kung Do-yun. I am the human you have sentenced to death. Before I die, I ask for one thing: a chance to show you who we really are." He pressed a button. The screen behind him came to life. Images began to play. Videos and pictures that Jisoo had helped him gather from every corner of Earth. A mother holding her newborn baby. Tears of joy on her face. An old man playing guitar on a street corner. His music making strangers smile. Children running through a field of flowers. Laughing without reason. Two people getting married. Promising to love each other until death. Artists painting. Writers writing. Dancers dancing in the rain. People helping strangers. Giving food to the hungry. Building homes for the homeless. Humans crying at funerals. Humans celebrating at birthdays. Humans holding hands in the dark. "We are small," Do-yun said as the images played. "We are weak. We live and die in the blink of an Ethon eye. But look at what we do with our short time." The images changed. Now they showed humanity's art. Paintings that had survived for centuries. Music that made the soul weep. Buildings that reached for the sky. Stories that had been told for thousands of years. We create beauty because we will die. We love because we know loss. We hope because we have known despair. Every moment is precious to us because we have so few of them. On the Ethon ships, soldiers stopped what they were doing. They gathered around screens, watching this strange human speak. "You came here to judge us," Do-yun continued. "But you never stopped to see us. You saw our wars, but not our peace. You saw our weakness, but not our strength. You saw our short lives, but not how brightly we live them." Images showed more. Humans helping each other after disasters. Humans fighting for freedom. Humans sacrificing themselves for others. This is who we are. Not perfect. Not powerful. But alive in a way that maybe, just maybe, you have forgotten how to be. Do-yun took a deep breath. "Your princess touched me. She cried for the first time in 500 years. Is that corruption? Or is it healing? Is it a crime? Or is it something your people lost long ago?" He looked straight into the camera. His eyes were wet, but his voice was strong. "I do not ask you to spare my life. I only ask you to look. Really look. And ask yourselves, is this species really lesser? Or are they simply different?" The broadcast ended, for a long moment. There was only silence. Then, on the Ethon flagship, something strange happened. An old soldier who had fought in 100 wars looked at the frozen image of the human mother holding her child, and for the first time in 2,000 years, he felt something hot and wet on his cheek. A tear. He touched it, confused. He did not know what it was. He had forgotten. All around the fleet, the same thing was happening. Soldiers who had never felt emotion in their long lives were now feeling something they could not name. Something that hurt but also healed. The High Council watched from their chamber. Their ancient faces showed confusion and fear. Then something else. The head of the council, Lord Varric, stood up slowly. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Why are our soldiers weeping?" But no one could answer him. Because for the first time in 10,000 years, the Ethon Dominion was feeling something they had tried very hard to forget. They were feeling human. The High Council was in chaos. For 3 hours, they argued and shouted and threatened. Some wanted to destroy Earth immediately, to burn away this strange infection that was making their soldiers weep. Others wanted to retreat, to run from these small creatures who had somehow touched something deep inside them, but it was Princess Vela who ended the debate. She walked into the council chamber without permission. Her white dress flowed behind her like a flag of surrender. Or maybe a flag of war. But you cannot kill him, she said. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the iron underneath. You cannot destroy Earth, and you cannot pretend that what just happened did not happen. Lord Varric slammed his fist on the table. You have no right to speak here. You have shamed yourself, shamed your family, shamed the entire Dominion. I have done nothing shameful. Vela stood tall, facing the council without fear. I talked to a human. I listened to him. I learned from him. If that is a crime, then your laws are broken, not me. He corrupted you. He poisoned your mind with human weakness. No. Vela shook her head slowly. He reminded me of something I had forgotten. Something all of us have forgotten. She looked around the chamber at the ancient faces of the council. When did we become so cold? When did we decide that feeling was weakness? When did we forget that we were once alive too? The council members shifted in their seats. They did not want to hear this, but they could not look away from her. 10,000 years ago, Vela continued, we were not so different from humans. We loved, we cried. We created art and music and stories. But somewhere along the way, we decided that those things made us weak. So we cut them away. We became perfect, immortal, powerful. Her voice dropped to a whisper, and empty. Lord Varric stood up, his face twisted with anger. Enough. Guards, take her away. She is no longer a princess. She is in exile. But the guards did not move. Vela looked at them. They were the same guards who had served her for centuries. They had watched her grow from a child to a princess to the cold. Perfect weapon she had become. Now, for the first time, they looked at her with something other than duty. They looked at her with feeling. My lords, said Commander Lyris, stepping forward, I was the one who reported the princess. I was the one who called this council together. I thought I was doing my duty. Her voice cracked. But I watched that human's broadcast. I saw what he showed us. And I remembered. She paused, struggling with words she had never used before. I remembered my mother. She died when I was young. I never cried for her. I was told crying was weakness. So I buried my pain and never looked at it again. Tears ran down her silver face. Today, for the first time in 2,000 years, I cried for my mother. And I felt alive. More guards stepped forward. More soldiers, more Ethan, who had been touched by the human's message. Lord Varric looked around in horror. His perfect, orderly world was falling apart. This is madness, he said. We are the Ethan Dominion. We do not feel. We do not cry. We conquer. And what has conquering given us? Vela asked. 500 worlds, endless power, eternal life, and not a single moment of joy, not a single real connection, not a single reason to live except the fear of dying. She walked toward the council table. Each step was heavy with meaning. I have made my choice, she said. I choose to feel. I choose to love. I choose the human who showed me that life is more than power and control. She stopped in front of Lord Varric. I renounce my title. I renounce my place in this family. I renounce everything the Dominion has given me. Varric sneered. Then you are nothing. An exile. A traitor? Maybe? Vela smiled, and it was a real smile, full of warmth and hope. Or maybe I am the first of something new. She turned to the council one last time. I have spoken for the Dominion my entire life. My voice has ended wars. My words have bent kings to our will. But this human taught me that sometimes the bravest thing is to stop speaking and start listening. She looked at each council member in turn. Humanity does not need to be conquered. They need to be understood. Their strength is not in their bodies or their weapons. It is in their hearts, in their capacity to feel, in their courage to love, even though they know they will lose. Lord Varric opened his mouth to speak, but Vela raised her hand. I am done speaking now, she said. For the first time in my life, I am going to be silent. Not because I am weak, but because I have finally found something worth more than words. She walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop her. The sun was setting over Seoul. When Vela reached the embassy rooftop, Duhaen was waiting for her. He looked tired. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair was a mess. But he was alive. He was free. And when he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart hurt in the best way. "You came," he said. "Where else would I go?" She walked toward him. The sky behind her was painted in colors of orange and pink and gold. The last light of day fell on her silver hair, making her glow.
"What happened?"
Do-yeon asked. "The guards just released me. They said something had changed. They would not tell me what. Everything has changed." Vela stopped in front of him. "I am no longer a princess."
"What?"
"I gave it up. My title, my power, my place in the Dominion." She took his hands in hers. "I chose you instead." Do-yeon stared at her. "But why? I am just a human. I have nothing to offer you. My life is short. I am weak." Vela silenced him by putting her finger on his lips. "You showed me how to feel," she said. "You showed me how to cry. You showed me that being alive is more than just not being dead. How could I ever go back to what I was before?" She moved her hand to his cheek. "I do not know what will happen now. I do not know where I will live or what I will do. For the first time in my life, I do not know anything at all." She smiled. "And I have never been happier." Do-yeon laughed. It was a sound full of wonder and relief and joy. "What happens now?" he asked. Vela thought about it. Below them, the city of Seoul was coming alive with lights. Above them, the Ethon ships were slowly turning away, heading back to the stars. Between two worlds, human and alien, everything was changing. "Now," she said, "we figure it out together. That is what humans do, right?" Do-yeon pulled her close. She rested her head on his shoulder. They stood like that, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky, as he said. "That is exactly what humans do." Far above them, on the Ethon flagship, the High Council was in emergency session. Lord Varric was demanding war. Others were demanding peace. The old order was cracking, and no one knew what would take its place. But on a small screen in the corner of the chamber, the image of the human mother, holding her child, still glowed. And one by one, the ancient lords of the Ethon Dominion looked at that image and remembered what it felt like to love. Years later, historians would write about this moment. They would call it the beginning of the Great Change, when the mightiest empire in the galaxy was transformed not by war or conquest, but by a single, tired human who told a princess she was too. It's beautiful to speak. They would write about the alliance that formed between Earth and the Ethon, the first true partnership in galactic history, built not on power or fear, but on understanding. They would write about Princess Vela, who gave up everything for love, and about Kang Do-yeon, the ordinary man who taught the universe how to feel. But those two people would not care about history books. They would be too busy living, laughing, crying, growing old together on a small planet called Earth. And every evening, they would stand on their rooftop and watch the sunset, because the most beautiful things in life do not last forever, and that is exactly what makes them beautiful. The end.